The following is a paid program. The views expressed are not necessarily those of the management or ownership of KSTP-AM 1500 ESPN.
The following is a presentation of Cover Your Assets and is offered by Rooker Financial Coaching and Consulting. You're trying to build your income, your business, your life. Challenges are all around you. It seems so overwhelming. People are depending on you. Who do you listen to? Where can you go to find honest, useful information?
Todd Rooker.
For decades, Todd Rooker has been teaching professional education to attorneys, CPAs, bankers, and financial advisors. Rooker Financial Consulting offers advice and coaching to consumers, business owners, and financial professionals on every topic imaginable. If you truly want to succeed, sit back and find out how to cover and build your assets. Here's nationally renowned speaker and expert getting you on the path to financial strength and wealth, Todd Rooker.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning. I am your host, Todd Rooker, the one and only. Cover Your Assets. My goodness gracious. Our show, I believe, is moving into its 13th year here. Going to be some changes. Definitely going to be some changes. And you want to probably keep, if you do enjoy the show, and I so appreciate that if you do, probably want to stay tuned to some of the upcoming changes so that we don't lose you in that process. Hopefully that's telling enough for you. Today's show is the 4 categories of investing. Now, this show is inspired out of a few things. First, the number of people who are frustrated with the success that they have, meaning the return on investment that they receive in the monies that they put to work for themselves. And you know, some people don't put any money to work for themselves because they're just surviving day to day. And I'll have something to say about that too. And it's also as a result of people that I meet with who will bitch and complain about that, but then when I tell them what the real options are, and this is an interesting thing to discuss in and of itself, in that a lot of times people will ask you a question, how to do something, and I'll tell them how to do it, and I mean definitively. And I think too often people are used to getting suggestions, and I don't give suggestions. I speak with definitive terminology. I tell people how to do what they want to do, but when I explain to them what is necessary, they immediately opt out of that because they don't want to do that. Well, then shut up.
That sounds hard, Todd. I don't want to do things that are hard.
Yeah, evidence. It's absolutely true. And you know, I'll tell you. I'll give you a story here that is not a unique thing. That is almost somewhat consistent, and that is that I do a lot of new business consultations. And my consultations, I'll just tell you, I don't ever do consultations for free, ever. I charge one billable hour, $300, even though I will spend up to 2 hours or allocate up to 2 hours. So that's a 50% off deal. But when I do, I have them fill out a 14-page discovery package. It's not as daunting as you might think. It can be done pretty quickly. It's just basically to pull things out of you so I can see and have good context. Well, let me tell you that thing is telling. When I have you fill that out and I walk through that in the first half an hour of our meeting, I get a very clear sense, or a pretty darn good one anyway, of who you are and what you're about, at least up to this point. So when I tell them what I think, it can be pretty harsh. And I've had people come back to me after the meeting and say, you know, this is nothing like I thought it was going to be. And part of that is because they are so accustomed to being sold. So in meetings where somebody is not charging for the meeting, remember, they're being paid on performance. They're trying to get you engaged in their thing, sell you, have you buy, insurance or real estate or a mortgage or transfer your investments to them or whatever. And that's what they're anticipating. Even when you go see your CPA or your law firm, they're anticipating a sales pitch. And it isn't that at all with me. Because the great news is that I am fortunate enough to be so busy that I don't need any one particular person. Now, that doesn't mean I'm so arrogant that I don't need a lot of clients that I'm very thankful for. But I have so many that I get the luxury of being honest with people. And that is not something that they are typically accustomed to. So they'll say to me, this is not what I thought it was going to be. You almost seem like you are purposefully trying not to have me go forward. You're telling me things that I'm not. You're not telling me things that make me want to necessarily go forward with you. And that's because the things that I'm telling them are not things that they necessarily want to do or want to hear, because they scare them. And if I were to do that, more often than not, even when people engage in those things and they're not mentally prepared to do the things that are necessary to accomplish the things that they think they want, they're literally with bated breath waiting on the sidelines to say, I knew that wouldn't work out, because the reality is it's uncomfortable and they never wanted to do it in the first place. So this show is somewhat inspired out of that, because there's such an abundance of people who are frustrated with what they're getting and where they're going, or maybe how slowly they're getting where they want to go. Maybe that's another way to look at it. And I'm going to talk about that in the 4 categories of investing. So if you got a piece of paper, you want to start writing with me, and I so appreciate that. You should do it every time I'm on the air. The 4 categories are, number 1, paper investing. This is the most typical that everyone is accustomed to. This is your 401k. This is your stocks, your bonds, your index funds, your mutual funds, your ETFs. Yeah, these are the things that you are all very accustomed to hearing about. Even whether you understand them or not isn't the point. Everybody knows them because so many people are offered these through their employers, and they do it because everybody else is doing it. And a lot of people see that as the one and only way that they will ever invest. They're fully engaged in their business, and I want something that I can set it and forget it. And so money's taken out of their check every month, and it's allocated to a specific pie of investments, and away you go. So there's that, paper investments. Number 2 is creating and starting your own business and reinvesting in your business. Now, this doesn't mean starting your own business for an income. It means if I earn enough money that I can have my life and I can have money left over afterwards, with that money that I may want to use, that discretionary money, to invest somewhere, could I choose to reinvest that in my existing business? What's the rate of return? That's number 2. Number 3 would be investing in other people's businesses. So when you think about, the show Shark Tank, where the folks are doing angel investing, they are the big shots with a lot of money, and people are pitching to them, wanting investors to get involved in their business. That's number 3. And number 4 would be investing in real estate. Now, there's a lot of individual types of investments, but pretty much they all fall into that category and those categories. And so I'm going to make some points about what is reasonable, what you can expect, and maybe help you discern where you might want to go with a percentage of the money you have to work with, or maybe, a great percentage of your money. I don't know. It's up to you. So the first one is paper investing. Now, without getting into great detail about individual investments and getting myself in trouble, which I'm not going to do, used to be in that business, do not have licenses to do that, at least anymore. And so know that I built a financial firm with over 100 individual financial advisors who worked for me, and I sold that company for an 8-figure number 18 years ago, maybe, 18, about 18 years ago. And so when we talk about your advisory work that you do with either your in-house benefits person who may be an advisor or may work with an advisor, or if you have an independent financial advisor because you've changed jobs a few times and you've rolled those dollars over to that person, know that is a world that I am very accustomed to, comfortable with, and understand pretty doggone well. And the thing that I'm going to bring up about that is very basic, and it is this. You have absolutely no control or real insight into any of that. I went to school to be a financial analyst. I really never wanted to be in the advisory business. I wanted to be an analyst. Now, I've had a lot of things happen in my life. My wife got sick with cancer. I had a little boy born with cerebral palsy. This is now 30 some odd years ago. And it changed my direction quite dramatically because I needed to find something that I could make a lot of money in a short period of time and pay back the horrendous amounts of hundreds of thousands of medical bills that I had. So it changed my direction quite dramatically. But I'll tell you what I've learned over time with people whom I know did go that direction. And here it is. Information is king. And the information that you read in a prospectus and the information that you see on the news and read on the internet is not that information. That information is way old, way cold. And the reality is the people who are analysts, certainly we are trained to analyze investments, the risk, but the market changes. Things happen that you have no control over, and it's real easy to talk about past performance and what's happened in the past, but it frankly means absolutely zero as it relates to what's going to happen in the future.
It means nothing, and also insider trading is totally illegal and obviously never happens except all the time when it does.
Oh, it's so funny. I can't believe you said that. So everybody who's in that business is straddling the fence of insider trading every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. These organizations, which I mean who manage money, equity funds, investment funds, they spend millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to get information faster and more accurately than anybody else.
Yep.
And you don't have those dollars, forgive me, to piss away to do that. And here's the thing. Most of that information is worthless. A lot of the information that is being acted upon is information that, frankly, if it were scrutinized, very likely would be considered insider trading.
Yeah, well, and I mean, that's just it, right? Is, me as an individual, I'm a guy with an internet connection, and, JP Morgan Chase or whoever, any number of firms that have investment arms have dozens, hundreds, thousands of people, analysts, that can comb through this field of data that they're getting faster and more readily than me, and are able to make decisions based off of that.
Exactly. And even when they do that, they don't know if it's accurate.
Yeah.
And the primary reason you got to take into account, folks, is that unless you've got a seat on the board of that company and you are analyzing everything that's going on, you, one, don't have any control whatsoever, and two, have no idea what's actually going on internally. Even the analysts, even the people who are working on Wall Street don't have that information for certain.
Yeah.
In most cases. They are betting on things. And then remember something else. Whatever trend worked in the past, if there's a group of people who are executing that based on what's happened to that past performance indicative of future results, they think that's going to completely influence the market. You should understand that when it comes to the value of stocks, if you do a standardized valuation of that company, and then based on the number of shares and warrants and options that are out there, you dilute those shares based on the value of that company, you will find that those shares are way overpriced. Way overpriced. And I mean in every instance, even when the prices are low.
Yes.
And why is that? Very simply, because speculation is what dictates the value of the market. Period.
Oh, yeah. The market caps of any publicly traded company that is on anyone's radar, right, outside of basically penny stocks that are on the exchange but don't really exist there, it's wild.
Oh, it's wild.
It's insane with the market caps of even regular size companies. We're not talking about like the Metas and Googles and stuff of the world that are these gigantic conglomerates that span the whole world. It's like the regular stuff where it's like, yeah, they've got 2,000 employees and their market cap is like $1 billion.
Yeah, and they're 140x which is
Right.
insane.
Yeah.
You know, if I've done valuations for companies for 20 years. And I have a lot of certifications to do that, and I, on a regular basis, have people coming to me, paying me to do comprehensive valuations of their companies. Let me just tell you that the valuation of your company is not going to look anything like the market cap valuations of the companies that are traded publicly. And the whole reason is because the influence, the speculation, the movement of the market is what dictates the value of the stock. Do you know that if a stock is performed well, it will be more expensive, meaning higher X, simply related to the fact that there's some level of consistency and more people have a desire for it. So the demand on it will influence its value. Having nothing to do with the success of the company necessarily. It does, of course. But in addition to that, that influences the value. That doesn't happen with your small business, does it?
No. Well, I mean, that's just it. Is there's the old saying, which is, oh man, and then it leaves my brain. Buy the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah.
And variants of that. And what that boils down to is a publicly traded company, you know, like it doesn't matter if you beat your expectations for the quarter. Well, now that number has become real. And how much did you beat it by? Did you do double what you expected? That's great. Your stock is still likely to go down after your earnings report.
I mean, how many of these companies have ever increasing share prices and yet are burning cash and haven't even made any money over several years? And you're out there investing in a company that can't even show a profit. How would that work if that were your own company? How absurd is that? That's the market you're investing in, just so we're clear. So the idea that you're going to go home and have 3 screens in front of you in your little desk at home and do day trading and beat the professionals over an extended period of time.
I'm going to buy my Bloomberg terminal.
It's just, look, you do that and you show me how your success is. You need to know, I don't care if you've succeeded consistently for the last couple of years. I could care less. I think you're nuts. I think it's because I know that business. And when I know the investors who actually have the access to the information, and the vast majority of them, and I mean more than 95% of them, can't beat the index, which is nothing more than going and throwing your money at the top 500 or the top, biomedical companies or technology companies, whatever index we're talking about. When they can't do that and they have access to information and they have more background and education on it, come on, man. What do you think? So when your financial advisor says you want to diversify, why? Because you have no control over anything and because nobody really knows anything. And at the end of the day, you're going to get an average watered down return because some things will do well, some things will do not so well. And while you are eliminating the downside risk, oh my gosh, I want to make the highest return, but I don't want to take on any risk. How ridiculous. And you are diminishing the downside risk. You're also severely watering down the upside potential. That's the way it goes with paper investing. And so if you're looking to accomplish more than, say, an 8% compounded return over time, you're probably looking in the wrong place, especially when you consider that a large portion of your investment dollars is going to go into bonds, whether they're municipal bonds or otherwise, even whether they're highly rated bonds. Those bonds and those stocks will at any given time offset one another. And that means that if you've got 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds, here again, you're getting a blended rate of return overall in your portfolio. And the truth is, over your working lifetime, if you beat 6%, you've done really well. And if you factor out 6% based on the amount of money you're putting away every single month, and then you consider an inflation factor between now and the time that you need the money to retire, you're going to realize immediately the amount of money you're putting away is never going to get you where you want to go. It's very simple. It's very simple. And when your advisor says, well, here's how much money you're going to have, and you're smart enough to know how to figure out how inflation will affect the purchasing power of that money in the future, if you're smart enough, almost nobody is, and you will immediately say, I'm not going to have enough money. And your advisor says, well, you're going to need more money to invest then. You're thinking they're going to do more with your money, and the answer is no. They're not going to do more because taking on more risk that you think will give you a higher rate of return, in general, is simply taking on more risk, because when you consider the small cap, mid cap companies against the large cap companies, ironically, they don't return a higher rate of return, even though you say, well, they've got greater market share opportunity. That part is true, but the reality is the statistics say they don't do any better than the large cap companies. In fact, the large cap companies and their performance eclipses the mid and small cap companies.
I mean, you can see it all the time these days. There's been market pressures, at least in my lifetime. I would say the last 30 years in particular. Any up and comers in that medium space are just getting bought, and the rate of return for that company getting bought and folded into some mega corporation is generally pretty poor for the individual investor.
And that's assuming that they do well.
Yeah. And that's just it. It's like the deal might be really great in the moment where it's like, wow, I made 20% on this deal this year. And then you go, oh yeah, but now my moonshot where I recognized this company doing well, and they had this disruptive,
all about consistency,
solar product or whatever, and now some other bigger company bought them, and I could have just invested in the bigger company.
You were a genius yesterday, and now you're not. And it's just and remember, the problem is that you're not going to most likely be investing all your money in one company, even if the money is divisible between different companies in the same sector. Remember that can all change overnight. You have absolutely no control. You won't find out until it's late in the game. So the reality is, for most people, that's not going to work. And the big companies, as Evan has said, if they are successful, are going to buy them out. And remember that when they're small capitalized companies or mid-capitalized companies, these also have much greater propensity for failure. And when they fail, now that portion of your portfolio just goes away. So 6 to 8% is what you're looking for. And if you want more, then you got to look somewhere else. We're going to talk about the next of the 4 categories of investing when we come back. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Does your sump pump run constantly? Do you want to ensure that you never have a damp, musty-smelling basement? These issues are caused by water coming off your roof, draining into your basement. Gutters can resolve these problems. William Foss is the owner of Seamless Solutions. He is honest and trustworthy. He is simply the best. If you need gutters or leaf covers, he is the guy to call. You can call him at 612-834-0664 or go to his website, seamlessolutionsmn.com.
Are you looking for a bank that supports entrepreneurs like you? If you're searching for a bank to grow with you and your business, I would like to welcome you to our Village Bank. Hi, I'm Alicia Webb, President and Vice Chair of Village Bank. I'm honored to lead Village Bank, an entrepreneur's bank that was built by an entrepreneur and for entrepreneurs. Starting a business and then maintaining it requires mindset. It's important for business owners to realize that financial statements aren't just for their bankers and accountants. Knowing your numbers will help build the foundation for you and a healthy and successful business. You don't have to be a financial expert nor a banker, but you do need to understand a few key financial documents and metrics to make your business successful. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn or visit us at villagebankonline.com. It takes a village to accomplish your business goals. And be sure to tune in to Cover Your Assets the last Saturday of every month to fill your entrepreneurial cup of ambition and start your Saturday off right with me, Alicia Webb, and our Village Bank.
Fix Auto has been the collision repair leader in the Twin Cities for over 40 years. Hi, I'm Matt Feehan, second-generation owner. Our mission at Fix Auto is to provide you with the simplest collision repair experience anywhere. If you're in an accident and you need help, my team is here and ready for you. You can find us on the web at fixautousa.com. That's fixautousa.com. We are Fix Auto, home of the WOW experience.
He can lift a bus straight over his head. He can fly around the world in seconds. And he has the power to regenerate entire limbs.
Okay, so Jason Walgrave isn't actually a superhero. But once you visit his website to find out what he knows about real estate, you may start to think he's superhuman. That's because at jasonwalgrave.com, you'll find absolutely anything you need to know about real estate in the Twin Cities. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your home, check out jasonwalgrave.com, the #1 place for all your real estate questions.
Finding a good banker and CPA are like having a good doctor or mechanic. You cannot fully appreciate the value they represent until you're in a pinch and truly need them. However, that's not the time to go looking for one. Instead, you want to position and strategize well in advance for a favorable outcome. CPA Arliss Cleveland of Arliss Cleveland LTD is the CPA firm you've been looking for. As many of you already know, if you're looking for a great CPA, Arliss Cleveland gets my highest endorsement. Arliss Cleveland LTD has now formed a strategic relationship with Village Bank, conveniently located in the Village Bank building, located at 9298 Central Avenue North, Suite 412, Blaine, Minnesota. You can also find Arliss Cleveland LTD certified public accountants and consultants by going to accountingoffices.net or by simply calling 763-786-0639. That contact information again, accounting-offices.net or by simply calling 763-786-0639.
You're listening to Cover Your Assets with Todd Rooker.
Welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that. So we were talking about paper investments, and I want to make a point. If the best return you're ever going to get when investing in that way, and the surest thing you'll ever have, is if you are fortunate to get a company match. 4%, 6%, 3%. If you take advantage of that, that will be the best return on your paper investing you will ever get. Everything else is going to fall into the bucket that I just described. And so, I'm not telling you not to fund your retirement account. I'm not telling you that those investments are not successful, because remember, every investment is simply gauged against what you would otherwise do with the money.
Yep. Company match is free money. However, there's a big caveat to this. Investment period is very much a thing with company match. Some companies, you have to be at the company 10 years before they can claw back some of their portion that they've contributed to your 401k.
Before they can't.
That's, excuse me, yes, before they can't.
Yep.
Yeah, a decade.
And so why do they do it? Because it's golden handcuffs.
Exactly.
That's exactly that. I mean, there's always a motivation. Nobody does things purely out of the goodness of their hearts. Everything is done. And if you don't like this because you're a bleeding heart, that's too bad. The reality is this is how things work in the real world. So that now, but again, I'll say, does that mean I don't fund my retirement account? No, your retirement account is going to create a level of security in your life. And if your alternative to that money would be that you would simply spend it on your life, well, then this is the best investment in the world for you, because the alternative is you wouldn't have the money at all. So,
right, exactly. 6 Chipotle outings a month or some amount of paper investments.
And it's so easy to spend that much money.
It is.
That's really, Evan, the point, because that little bit of money that most people put away, $100, $150, $300 a paycheck, it's so minuscule you could piss it away over the course of the month, and you wouldn't feel like your life had gotten one iota better than it was before.
I remember in high school, one of our math teachers did a demonstration to exemplify the power of compound interest, where they talked about if you're a smoker, if you quit smoking and took that money, and this was based on the price of packs of cigarettes in like 2003 or whatever, it's like if you just took that amount of money and never even adjusted it for inflation over the course of your career, the $6 a week or whatever, it like compounds to $990,000 by retirement age.
And in today's world, that'd be millions of dollars.
Right, exactly. And it is a minuscule amount of money in the terms of the monthly budget that an average person's going to have. You're talking about $30, $60, whatever. So absolutely, if you got the company match, do it. Just don't delude yourself into thinking that you're covered. You've got it. You're good.
Well, it's so what Evan just described is what we call LOC, lost opportunity cost of the money. And it's a great point because it exists in what we've just talked about. Remember that if you have an expense, that expense, if it did not exist, would enable you to, and this is a big if you did it, would enable you to have money that you otherwise wouldn't have. So not only would it be an expense in so much as you don't have or are losing the money, that money would also have performance and the ability to compound over time. When you combine those two things together, that equals out your LOC, lost opportunity cost of the money. And there are so many things like that. Hey, if I didn't have a car payment of $600 per month and I drove a crappier car, yes, my cost of maintenance would go up, but it would not be that number. And if it were not that number, how much more money could I put away over my working lifetime? And how could that make me a millionaire in and of itself? And the answer is yes. So things like the smoking things like changing day-by-day expenses that might not make an impact could have a profound impact when considered through LOC, lost opportunity cost. In any event, the next option is to invest in your own business. Now, I want to be clear about this. Most of you are brought up to be practitioners. Hey, what are you going to do when you grow up? Oh, I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to be a nurse. I'm going to be a lawyer. I want people who want to be a business person, an entrepreneurial business person. That's the people I want. I don't need to be a thing. I want to make money. I want to build companies. That's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to build wealth. I want to be rich. I want to be able to buy these average ding-dong people over 20 times plus. That's what I want. Nobody teaches anybody to do that because, every college that receives, donations from the corporate world is not going to teach people how to be anything other than a hamster on a wheel. But that's what I want you to think about. So when you start your own company, forget about the income that you make and the flexibility that you have. I want you to look at it and say, on top of my income, how much does my business make? So when I look at the value of your business, I'm never looking at the income that it would take to replace you. And remember, the business owners either pay themselves too much or too little. So the amount that you're paying yourself more often than not is irrelevant as it relates to that formula. But if I wanted to replace you in your business, and I simply wanted to be a non-participant business owner, an entrepreneur who just happens to be in this industry trying to make money, see, that's the way you look at a business, as a reinvestment. Is my business and its return on investment after I pay someone else to do what I do, whether it is me or somebody else, doesn't matter. How much will I earn as a rate of return on that money that is reinvested? And if that number isn't higher than the other options, then the question immediately becomes, why am I doing it? I mean, I certainly want to make a good income so I can spend less than I earn, and then I have money left over while still enjoying a reasonable lifestyle to put money into something that will create wealth for me. There's a mouthful right there, isn't there? If I want to make a good income, but if the return on investment, you have no idea the number of businesses that I look at on a regular basis, and when analyzing them properly, their rate of return after you pay the boss or the key people who are all deriving a salary from the business that they don't include when considering the margin on the business. So they look at the revenue that comes in, the pure cost to create and complete that job, all things considered, and what's left they consider profit. But see, after profit, you have to pay the managers and the owners of that company who may or may not necessarily be in that formula. And when you put those numbers back in, now the return as a percentage of the gross income becomes considerably less. And that's your return on investment if you were to buy the business as a non-participant. And remember that if I want to sell my business and the only people who want to buy it are other people who do the same thing I do, they're practitioners, well, the number of people who are going to want to buy my business is very low. As a result, the demand on that supply is low, and that means the price or value of that business is low. But if I've got a business that after you replace yourself and an income that is reasonable to bring somebody in who is talented and would make probably 80% of what you make, or maybe even lower if you're paying yourself too little, well, if that number is 20%, let me tell you, everybody and their brother wants to buy your business, and now there's a huge demand on supply, and your business, as a result, result of multiples goes up in its value. So when you look at your own business, you have to consider that against the other alternatives, and you want to look at, and that business should be returning at least better than your paper investments, all things considered. That means if it's not 8, 10, 12, 15%, remember when I say these numbers, the difference between 8% and 10% and 12% and 15% is a catastrophic difference. So when I throw out these numbers arbitrarily like that, you need to know that the difference between 8% and 8.5 is a big measurement. It's a big difference. You might not think so because you've got very few zeros behind your numbers, but it is a big difference. And so that's investing in your own business after you paid yourself to work in it. The next one after that is investing in other people's businesses. Now, I want to make a point about this. One of the biggest concerns that I have as a control freak, as an unadulterated, tell you the truth, control freak. I want control. If I can't have control, I'm not interested. Well, why do you have to diversify to such a degree in paper investments? Because you have no control over anything. I mean, at least in your own business, you get to control who you take on as a customer or a client, how much you charge, assuming you can talk people into paying you for doing that, what your expenses are. You can be a blade, and you can watch those expenditures and those operational costs very carefully. You have control at the very least. But when you invest in paper assets, you don't have any control whatsoever other than buying and selling. But the management, the control, the upside, you have very little control. And the more you diversify, the more you water down the upside, but the less you have in risk. Okay, it is what it is. So when you invest in somebody else's company, now you really have no control. One, that money is not diversified. It's going into that company. And that person who's running that company or that management team who's running that company is not going to tell you as a small outside investor what they're going to do or whether they're going to do it. Now, if you have a seat on the board of that company, if you were the controller managing the finances, overlooking all the decisions related to money, and you did that for 30 years in your career before you retired and now decided to become an angel investor and invest in individual companies like the one that you were up to speed on, totally understood it, and you had a seat on the board, and you and the other investors could outvote the owner of the business if you disagreed, then and only then would I consider investing in someone else's company as an individual, non-public investment. That's the only time.
When have you ever run into that exact scenario?
Tell me what you mean by that.
I mean, like, how many people come to you thinking about, like these different options, and, like, this is a viable option for them. They have the experience. They're going to get the seat on the board. They're going to have the ability to actually go toe-to-toe with the owner, with the rest of the board, and they have the time to do all this.
More often than not.
Really?
Yeah, because here's the answer. They're investing in the company they work for.
All right.
Because they think they understand it, and they don't. They have, if you invest in Pfizer because you work at Pfizer, you don't have any control over how Pfizer runs their business. You're just a little cog in the big wheel.
Yep.
And just because the company did well in the past doesn't mean they're going to do well in the future. And that is an extreme example because you know what? The pharmaceutical industry is an incredibly profitable industry if you're lucky enough to work for that company and have opportunity to invest in company stock outside of that. But for a lot of people, they're investing in companies just because they work there, but they have and they've been solicited and sold on the value of the company stock. They have no control over it whatsoever. So that's an example of where people are doing that. They do it rarely in other instances, so I know what you were saying. But when they do it in their own company, they're essentially doing the same thing. Let's take another break, and then we're going to talk about the last option, which is real estate investing. We'll be right back. Hey, are you considering something exceptional to set your home apart and highlight its curb appeal? How about the rich look of custom copper gutters? Copper gutters are not only beautiful, they also offer timeless durability. William Foss with Gutter Solutions installed my beautiful copper gutters. I get compliments every day. If you're looking for extraordinary craftsmanship and would like to consider something truly special, call him at 612-834-0664 or go to their website, seamlesssolutionsmn.com. Ask for Billy. I have trusted attorney Brian Aho for more than 10 years to work closely with me to resolve and eliminate debt for many of my personal and business clients. Aho Law Office is the go-to firm I choose because Brian has always been caring and compassionate with my clients, while tenaciously fighting to retain as much of their assets as possible while quickly eliminating their debt. Brian's extensive experience and knowledge of bankruptcy law and willingness to fight allow him to resolve challenges and cases that many attorneys won't. Don't let other attorneys learn on your dime. Rely on the experience of Aho Law Office to help you achieve relief from your creditors. Competent, compassionate legal advocates providing the clarity to protect tomorrow. For more information, call Brian and his staff at 612-271-4047 or email Brian directly at brian@aholawoffice.com. Again, that number, 612-271-4047.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Nybo with the Kimberly Nybo Insurance Agency, serving the community for over 27 years. People tend to be most concerned with price. That is, of course, until something goes wrong. Then the only thing they care about is their coverage. My experience enables me to uncover every available discount. I could save you up to 40%, while still offering the proper coverage for the people you care about. Call today for a free review at 763-571-6111 or email me at kim@kimnybo.com.
Hi, this is Troy Danner of Danner's Cabinet Shop. My family has been building custom cabinets and countertops for homes in Minnesota for over 50 years. We still make the cabinets the way my grandpa did when he founded our company. My team of skilled craftsmen pride themselves on attention to detail and making sure every element of your project goes perfectly. Give me a call at 763-753-4002 or visit us online at dannerscabinets.com.
Mike Overson here of Minnesota Home Talk. With today's housing market, buying a house is a competition. To win in a multiple offer situation, you have to work with a local lender who has the reputation of being 100% reliable. Come to the winning team. Get pre-approved for your loan by one of the top lenders in the nation, the Mike Overson Mortgage Team at Luminate Home Loans. We will help you win. Call me at 612-202-8321. That's Mike Overson at 612-202-8321 or go to applywithmike.com.
Todd Rooker here to tell you about the most amazing jewelry store, Golden Treasures on 805 Grand Avenue in St. Paul. I've known the owner, Todd Gimble, for almost 20 years now, and at Golden Treasures, not only do you get more for less, it's the experience that you and your special person will feel when you walk in the door. Todd truly puts his heart and soul into creating your experience regardless of how much money you spend. This is Todd's customer for life philosophy. Take it from me, there really is no other jewelry store. You can't go wrong with Golden Treasures in St. Paul. 651-227-2711. That's 651-227-2711. Finding a good banker and CPA are like having a good doctor or mechanic. You cannot fully appreciate the value they represent until you're in a pinch and truly need them. However, that's not the time to go looking for one. Instead, you want to position and strategize well in advance for a favorable outcome. CPA Arliss Cleveland of Arliss Cleveland LTD is the CPA firm you've been looking for. As many of you already know, if you're looking for a great CPA, Arliss Cleveland gets my highest endorsement. Arliss Cleveland LTD has now formed a strategic relationship with Village Bank, conveniently located in the Village Bank building, located at 9298 Central Avenue North, Suite 412, Blaine, Minnesota. You can also find Arliss Cleveland LTD certified public accountants and consultants by going to accountingoffices.net or by simply calling 763-786-0639. That contact information again, accounting-offices.net or by simply calling 763-786-0639.
You're listening to Cover Your Assets with Todd Rooker.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, how you doing out there? So, you know, a lot of people, they come to me and they're in retirement, fearful they're going to run out of money, and they think that I'm going to refer them to some financial advisor who's going to give them a much better rate of return, at least a measurable rate of return, and allow them to take that money farther, make it last longer. And,
magic annuities.
Yeah, and give them a sense of comfort. I'm going to tell you right now, go away. because you're wrong about that. And if you understand the advisory business, the people who are practitioners, the advisors, they build their business based on assets under management. They're salespeople. The more money that they can get, and I'm not beating them up, by the way. You just need to be clear on this. They get you to move your money to them, and they build that pool of total client assets under management, and that's how they make their money. Based on, most our fiduciaries today, they're making 0.75, which is 75 basis points to 125 basis points. Let's just call it 1% of the total portfolio. So if they've got $100 million of assets under management, they're making $1 million a year. And their goal is to build up the total client pool of money, and that work, selling people on that, moving your investments over, that's a business that it doesn't have you sitting in front of computers doing buy and sells all day long. That's not what you do. You are meeting with people trying to get them to move their investments over to you. You do not have time to pick stocks, and you wouldn't be any good at it, most of them, even if they did. All they're doing is doing something that's not dissimilar from you picking the investment pie that you get shown at your company. Here's your 4 options, and here's the ratio of bonds to active investments or managed investments. That's, 70-30, whatever. That's what they're doing. So the fact that you meet somebody who's really impressive and smells good and dresses good and drives a nice car and has a nice office and has a comfortable, nice, well-mannered staff, that has nothing to do with your performance. Zero. None. See? And for a lot of people, they come to me thinking I'm going to refer them to that. And when I unload that on them, oh my God, that's not what they want to hear. They think the set and forget it. If you just find somebody else, they'll get you a better return and they'll make you more money. You're delusional. That's not how it works. So every investment is considered against what you would do instead. Real estate, as you hear me talk about frequently here, often has the greatest potential for return, and it even beats most people's businesses when it's considered in the way that I described previously. Listen to this podcast 10 times and dig that into your head. When you consider it the way I described, most people's companies, if you're looking to get an 8% return, you would be absolutely blown away by the number of small and mid-sized companies who do not receive a return on investment that beats 8%. It would blow your mind. Doesn't blow my mind, but it does often blow the minds of the actual people who own the companies because they've never even looked at their business in that way. Now, if your business after that formula is returning 12, 10, 15%, any of those numbers, hey, this might very well be the best one, and you get to exercise control. I love it. But a lot of businesses don't do that. Now, here's the other thing. I'm always talking about leverage. Leverage is a concept which is to say, where is my best return, the best leverage for my investment dollars, given my comfort level and my personal sensibilities? Meaning, what will allow me to sleep at night and not cause me to stay awake at night for fear that I'm going to lose my money? Well, the reality is, real estate, contrary to what people say to you, it's a physical asset, and it is literally like the safest investment there is. Oh, that sounds risky. Yeah, because you don't understand anything about it. But the reality is it really isn't, because it's a physical asset. And in many cases, the return on investment is significantly, staggeringly so, greater than you might have access anywhere else, but you've not taken the time to understand it. Having said that, when we look at investments where my client that I teach how to look at the metrics, how to measure it financially, not because you can go in and fix it up and put hardwood floors in. No. That you actually understand how to look at it from a purely financial perspective, which is more important than any other vantage point. Well, we're looking at properties that have a cash-on-cash return. Cash-on-cash is a measurement that takes into account how much I get in the form of cash flow. All of the income that they pay in rent minus all of the expenses equals portion. That's your cash flow. Then, if the property's going up in value and along the way it's costing you not $1 to see the increasing value in your asset, that you own. Remember, you may only own 10%, 20%, 30% of that asset. Yet if that asset goes up at 4%, you benefit at 4% on the entire asset, which may only be a portion of what you own. So if you own 25%, that means that that number is 4 times that number that you get in the form of appreciation on the actual money invested. Wow, now you add that on to your cash flow. In addition to that, if you do have a loan, which is to say leverage in the form of financing, now you've got balance pay down of that loan. And yes, it's certainly true that a lot of that money each month in those payments are going to interest, but a portion is going to principal pay down, giving you a greater equity position. And when you put those 3 together, that's cash on cash. When we look at that, that usually is 25% plus. Whoa. So let's take another break. And we'll be back talking about the different types of real estate investing that you can do and how each one of them diminishes the potential rate of return. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'd like to talk with you about financial coaching. Traditional financial planners help you make decisions about stocks, bonds, and mutual funds with money you already have. That's great, but who helps you accumulate more money in the first place? Who helps you make day-by-day life decisions? Who isn't trying to sell you something? Like, should I go back to school? Am I wasting money on insurance? How to purchase and finance a car, boat, home, lake cabin, or investment property? How to start, manage, and sell a business? It's about making minor errors that become colossal mistakes and cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. The problem is that you're so busy pursuing your career that you're forced to make critical financial decisions that have a dramatic long-term effect on your finances without adequate research or information. Rooker Financial Coaching is like having a personal CFO for every decision. Don't waste time lamenting the bad decisions of the past or money that's run through your fingertips. Stop procrastinating. Call Rooker Financial Coaching, 763-559-3800. That's 763-559-3800. Call me today, Todd Rooker, 763-559-3800. That's 763-559-3800. Todd Rooker here to tell you about the most amazing jewelry store, Golden Treasures on 805 Grand Avenue in St. Paul. I've known the owner, Todd Gimble, for almost 20 years now, and at Golden Treasures, not only do you get more for less, it's the experience that you and your special person will feel when you walk in the door. Todd truly puts his heart and soul into creating your experience regardless of how much money you spend. This is Todd's customer for life philosophy. Take it from me, there really is no other jewelry store. You can't go wrong with Golden Treasures in St. Paul. 651-227-2711. That's 651-227-2711.
Are you looking for a bank that supports entrepreneurs like you? If you're searching for a bank to grow with you and your business, I would like to welcome you to our Village, Village Bank. Hi, I'm Alicia Webb, President and Vice Chair of Village Bank. I'm honored to lead Village Bank, an entrepreneur's bank that was built by an entrepreneur and for entrepreneurs. Starting a business and then maintaining it requires mindset. It's important for business owners to realize that financial statements aren't just for their bankers and accountants. Knowing your numbers will help build the foundation for you and a healthy and successful business. You don't have to be a financial expert nor a banker, but you do need to understand a few key financial documents and metrics to make your business successful. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn or visit us at villagebankonline.com. It takes a village to accomplish your business goals. And be sure to tune in to Cover Your Assets the last Saturday of every month to fill your entrepreneurial cup of ambition and start your Saturday off right with me, Alicia Webb, and our Village, Village Bank.
Fix Auto has been the collision repair leader in the Twin Cities for over 40 years. Hi, I'm Matt Feehan, second-generation owner. Our mission at Fix Auto is to provide you with the simplest collision repair experience anywhere. If you're in an accident and you need help, my team is here and ready for you. You can find us on the web at fixautousa.com. That's fixautousa.com. We are Fix Auto, home of the WOW experience.
You're listening to Cover Your Assets with Todd Rooker.
Welcome back, everybody. So in the short period of time we got left here, real quick, I'm going to tell you there's really different ways you can invest in real estate, and they are progressively less potential as you go along typically. So number one, you can find the properties, acquire the properties yourself because you know what you're looking for. Two, you know how to improve their rents relative to the amount that you invest. In other words, if I put 10 grand into each unit in a 4-unit apartment building, I darn sure better be able to increase the rents by $100 or more per month for the $10,000 I put in. Otherwise, why am I doing it? So I know how to do that. I know how to increase and keep occupancy and manage the operations of that business, not necessarily manage. I don't manage properties. I don't have a desire to be a handyman, but I know how to do that, and as a result, I'll make the most amount of money. The next level in that is you don't feel comfortable with those things, so you want to jump holding hands where you're going to form a partnership with somebody else who does know how to do these things, and you'll be the investor, and they'll be the person who does those things, or a great percentage of those things. And as a result, now your rate of return for money invested is often diluted by the fact that that return is now divisible between 2, 3, 4 people. So there's that. Then the next one is syndicated investments, where you and a whole bunch of 401k speakers who would never in a million years invest in real estate if not for some big organization who does this for you. My buddy from Skip Johnson from Gratis does that. And now you get a better rate of return maybe than you get in your 401k, and you can take your friends by and show them the assisted living facility or the 200-unit apartment building that you own collectively with 50 other people or 100 other people. That is an even less return on that because, of course, it's divisible through that number of people, and the reality is those who put it together, they're the ones who make the majority of the money. The last one is REITs, real estate investment trusts, that are paper investments where the investment is real estate, and now you're right back in the bucket of 6 to 8% return and maybe even less because it's a paper investment and it's highly diversified. Each one of those as you go is real estate, but each one of them waters down the potential rate of return. So when I'm harsh with people and they tell me what they want to do and they've got these grand ideas, but they don't understand what's necessary to make that happen, I do. I know exactly how to do it, and I'll tell you how to do it. Now, the fact that you don't like what I tell you doesn't mean that you're going to go talk to somebody else to get a different opinion. I'm right. This is how it works. But if you don't like it and you're not willing to do it, then stop wasting time. Okay? But the reality is that these types of investments, at least the first 3, do have the potential to make you more money than you might make somewhere else. So it's up to you. Those are your 4 opportunities. What's the best based on your sensibilities and doesn't keep you awake at night? It's up to you. Hope you enjoyed the show. 4 categories of investing. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hello, I'd like to talk with you about